And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at Show Manager, which has a lot of things going for it for me. First of all, Durkan designed it, and he's designed one of my favorite games, Wallenstein, and other games that I enjoy. Secondly, it's about putting on a Broadway musical, and I'm a big fan of musicals, and that sounds fun. Thirdly, it's gotten a very high ranking amongst those who've played it before. So I was very excited to get this one to the table. Let's take a look. Alright, there's no business like the show business, and that's what each player is going to get. They're going to take one of these placards, and you can write the name of your company or you as a hiring agent there with the erasable marker, which is provided with the game. And you put it there, and it gives you a helpful description of the entire 2 different actions you can take. I don't know why they thought that was necessary. Then, for some reason, in this beautiful production, they decided to put paper money, which is a real pain in the neck. And thanks so much for nothing, because paper money is terrible. Each player is going to get four of these here. And these are the 4 productions you're going to put on: Queenie, Lipstick, Rats, and Moonlight. Now, I know Rats is supposed to be cats, and Lipstick is supposed to be hairspray. Not quite sure on the other 2, but then again, I didn't think about it that much. And on each of these, you'll flip them over, and it shows the maximum hand size that you're allowed to have when you're putting on that production. Now, each of the productions is very different, and players' turns are going to be very quick, regardless of the number of players in the game. On your turn, you have a couple optional things, which I'll talk about in a moment, but you must either put on a production or take one of these singers or actors or actresses at the top. Now, when you take them, you must pay the amount that you have here at the top. You start with $18,000, which seems like a lot, but you'll run out pretty quickly. And you're looking for very specific people, not based on their hideous faces, but based on what role they play in each production. You see over here, for example, in Lipstick, there are 5 different characters: Big Daddy, Bridget, never mind, Jack Radio, Granny Baker, and Benjamin. And each of those has a letter: A, B, C, D, and E. So nobody here is really good at playing those, with the exception of Sonny Nobody here, who can play anything, although he's worth only 1 point at it. While at the same time, if I go down here to Rats, which has 3 characters, Bruno, Pauline, and Charles, you can see here that this gentleman here is really, he's worth 2 if he plays the Bruno position, A. And over here, this guy is really good at that position, 9. And they're the only 2 that play that. So you can see each person is either really good at 1 or 2 or 3, although it's always a total of 9. So this guy is only good in that 1 role. And so you'll be taking these people and adding them to your hand. Now, if I'm going to put on a production of Queenie, for example, then I'm only allowed to have a maximum of 6 cards in my hand when I put on the production of Queenie. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the people, so when it's my turn, instead of playing, taking a character card, I say I'm putting on a production. So let's say I decided to put on a production of Queenie. I need an A, B, C, and D. So here I have A, and I have Sonny Nobody in my hand, B, so I'm using him for my B, C, and D. So I add these numbers together. A is worth 3, he's worth 1, 4, plus 2 for C, 5, 6, plus she is really good in the D position, so that's another 6, so that's 12. A total of 12. Now, if I had a guy in a position where they were miscast, where they don't belong in that position, you're allowed to do that, they're just worth 0. But here they have 12. And if they all are correctly cast, which in this case they are, you get a bonus 1 for each card, so another 4 bonus, so this would be worth 16. So when that happens, I will take my Queenie production here, and I'm going to write 16 on it with the erasable marker, and I'm then going to put that in a city here on the board. Now, I can put it in any city I want. Since I'm the only person who's put a production in the city, I can put it in the top slot. You'll notice that at the end of the game, the points that each city is worth, putting in the top slot of New York is worth 22 points, while putting in the top slot of Stockholm is only worth 14 points. But as other people come along and put on better shows in maybe the same city you have, yours gets slid down. And so if we go down to the bottom, you'll notice that the bottom for New York is a 0, while the bottom for Stockholm is a 4. So Stockholm is guaranteed points, while New York can be quite a few points. Once you put on a production, you can no longer put on that particular production, and you will keep going. Some character you can play with an optional rule where if you have hearts, you get more. A blue and a red heart, they work together, and they'll get you extra points and or money. But basically, that's how the game works. Once all 4 of your productions are on the board, you're out of the game until everyone has put out their productions. One thing you do at the beginning of your turn is if you're in desperate need of money, you can borrow money from one of your productions. Here, I'll take 5,000 from this one. Of course, that would move you around possibly on the list, and you can only do it once for each production, but if you need money, you are able to do that for each of your productions. So before we close this out, because that's really the whole game, most points at the end wins amongst the 4 productions, let's just take a closer look at some of the characters that are in this game, because that is going to be a lot of the humor. I'm assuming all these are based on actual real characters, but I wouldn't know. Like, for example, this guy looks like he's the character from the painting, this Scream, just he has a parrot now and is a little happy. But just a real quick look at how all the different characters look, and each of them is good at 1, 2, or 3 things, except for the Somebody and Anybody family, who are good at everything, but only worth 1 point in that. So, there you go. Look at that. Wouldn't you want to hire him for your Broadway production? And like I said, these are probably popular people. We recognized a few of them, we think, as time went by, but for the most part, you're just going to be laughing at the artists as you grab them and put them in your plays. So with all that excitement, with all these positives going for the game, did I like it? And the answer is a resounding no. I did not like it. And I look on the internet and find that I am one of the few to not like it. And I feel really bad about that. I feel like I'm supposed to like Show Manager. It is a widely renowned game. Here's why I don't like it. I think the general basis of Show Manager is very interesting. I think the idea of having a limited amount of money to hire actors to put on a Broadway production is an interesting idea. So on your turn, you buy a card, you add it to your hand. Once you have enough cards, you put the production on. Once you put that production out there, you put it in the spot where you think it will score the most points. You can borrow money from productions. Very simple game. Not a lot involved, only a few choices on your turn, which is why I laughed, because they actually had a help sheet when you do 2 things. And so, throwing in the variant with the hearts and stuff, that adds a little bit, but it's still very simple at its core. And that is where my problem is, because I love the simplicity of this game, so why not make it a 20-minute simple card game that does that? Why am I sitting here playing this for an hour? For an hour, you do the same thing. Take a card. Take a card. Take a card. And you just wait till the other players go, take a card. Finally, you have the cards to put on a production. Put on a production. And granted, and there's one thing, I don't think I mentioned it in the playthrough, but you can pay $2,000 to wipe the amount of people there and put 3 new people or 4 new people out. Okay, well, that's good. And that's used a lot because you need to put new people out to take. But sometimes the right person shows up at the right time for the other person, which is very lucky. Sometimes you need someone and you pay $2,000 to wipe and there's no one you need, so you're forced to put on a subpar play, and that can really be the difference in point value. I think this game has a really cool mechanic in it, but that cool mechanic of the sliding things and adding them to your hand doesn't make an hour-long game. It's 20 minutes, and then I was getting bored. It says big, beautiful production, a Show Manager, woo-hoo-hoo! But in the long run, it felt like it should have been put in a little card game box and played very quickly. And I haven't checked, folks. There actually may be a smaller card game version of this. Someone will probably tell me in the comments. And if so, I would be very glad to play that. This big, grandiose production is like taking a really good song and then saying, let's put a whole musical around that song. And so that's oddly fitting, because there are many musicals that have been made in the past that have this one great song everybody remembers and the rest of the musical is forgettable. Same thing here. It has that mechanic, add people to your hand, put out the thing. Oh, that's neat, but not for an hour. This isn't an hour game, or if you play with 6 players, longer than an hour, up to 90 minutes of a game. That's just way too long for what this game is. Again, the idea good, artwork funny, but that's not enough to carry the game over multiple times. So, too bloated with no real substance behind it. I wanted to like it, but sadly I'll have to give this one a thumbs down. Sorry. All those positive things. I really wanted to like Showmancer, but I didn't.
Shut the door.
There.